Criticism of the Church. The history of the Church is a history not only of God, but also of man, a history with ups and downs, with light and shadow. It is a history about sinners and saints. It has always been this way, and it always will be. The Church isn't holy because all her members here on earth are holy, but rather, as we already know, because of her origin, her ultimate end, and because in her are found all the means to reach holiness. So in the history of the Church, we find not only holiness, but also a great many sins. And this makes her an easy target for her critics. Three things, however, stand out in some of the criticism. First, the picture that is presented is often one-sided. The bad is being reported, the good often forgotten or ignored. This is not specific to church-related news. If somewhere 1,000 people protest peacefully and one person goes on a destructive rampage, the 1,000 people are suddenly uninteresting, and all eyes, microphones, and cameras are directed at the person running amok. This is what we as viewers and readers apparently want, but we should be aware it distorts the picture. The first problem, then, can be one-sidedness. The second thing that we frequently find in reports about the Church is strange nonsense. Strange nonsense arises when A, people reporting know too little about the matter, or B, if they engage in oversimplifications, painting black and white pictures of complex issues. Again, this is not specific to topics related to the Church, but when we look at portraits of church history, we see it happening especially often. Here's a typical example of such a black and white depiction. The thesis is proposed that all people desire only one thing: power. Therefore, when people act in the church, they obviously do so to increase their power. And indeed, one does not have to search long to find people in church history that fit the bill. But if you were to look only 2 seconds longer, you might see many others that obviously were not concerned with power at all. So you might have to question your overly simple thesis proposed at the outset. But someone who paints things in black and white doesn't see this, or doesn't want to see it. So the second problem is a distortion of the truth, through ignorance or because of an ideology, which is the chief source of all the black and white paint jobs. The third problem is much more personal and human. If someone shows me that I've done something wrong, and I know that he's right, then I have two options. I can either change, or because I don't want to change, I simply criticize the messenger. And since the messenger is normally just human, it won't be too difficult to find something to criticize. For example, a doctor tells the patient that smoking is bad for his health and that he should stop. The patient knows the doctor is right, but doesn't want to change his habit. And seeing that the doctor is also a smoker, he responds, "No, I won't stop because you smoke as well." The doctor in this case is certainly setting a bad example, but smoking isn't any healthier for me just because the doctor is a smoker. Because whether a certain message is true or false does not depend on whether the messenger himself is living according to it. And this problem is also observable when it comes to the message of the Church. Just because those that preach it are themselves mere mortals and sinners, one shouldn't rob oneself of the truth that is found in their message. These 3 points should be kept in mind when looking at the very human aspect of the history of the Church. A history indeed of sinners, but also of saints. And maybe for personal growth and progress, it would be better to imitate the lives of the saints rather than throw their message out on account of the weakness of sinners.